Georgia does it again, wins in the rematch over Texas, 22-19 in overtime for the SEC championship game, showing grit and determination again. That's all I can say about this team. Also, we talk about the big question, can Gunnar Stockton lead Georgia to the national title after the Carson Beck injury? Got Derrick Dawg, special return guest from Instagram. We also preview the first-round matchups for the college football playoffs and Georgia ranked number 2. We also look at their bracket, and we give our preview and prediction for who's going to win the Heisman Trophy this weekend. Make sure to like, subscribe, share the podcast. That really helps out. Georgia wins the SEC championship over Texas. It wasn't pretty in overtime. 2 straight weeks of stress, and as a Georgia fan, I don't know. Hey, it's not the prettiest thing, but the one thing I will say, they are resilient, and you got to knock these guys out. But Georgia gets the win 22-19. Carson Beck gets hurt in the first half. Looks like it's is it UCL? Sure. Oh, yeah, and we got Derrick Dawg back on, by the way. But how you doing, Dawg?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Is it UCL strain?
Yeah, UCL. So he's getting they're getting going to see a few more doctors to kind. I guess the first one that saw him, they want to see their options. So it doesn't sound too good.
Yeah, it looks like Gunner. We'll get into that. Gunner Stockton is going to be the man. Also, Brett Thorson? Man,
Yeah,
I hate to
Thorson.
see him. He was a DGD for sure. He went after a guy on a tackle and looks like blew his left knee out. So I was actually looking early. It looks like it's going to be number 1 kicker from 2024 is going to be the starter now. It's not
I
going to be
saw
the
that.
So I heard he can boom it. So we'll see.
Hey, just plenty of time to get some reps in. So,
Right.
if he can just get some good 40-yarders in there, and maybe sneak in a 50 or maybe a surprise 60-yarder, that'll be good.
For sure. So Georgia wins 22-19, and Carson Beck, as he usually has, struggled in the first half. They couldn't really get anything going. 6-3. To me, Georgia was lucky to even be in it at 6-3, but the defense was stingy and scrappy. I don't know if it's matchups. Also, it could have been the way you mentioned as Muschamp was down on the field, but it's just a bad matchup for Georgia against Texas because they were whipping them boys. 6 sacks, 2 picks
Yep.
by Dalen Everett. But the defense rose up again. And then in the second half, good old Gunnar Stockton, I think everybody was texting, would he be able to lead them to victory? Also, I think they were saying, after Beck got hurt, they had all 3 quarterbacks warming up.
Yeah, they did. Yep. Saw that.
Gutter came in, led him 12 of 16, 71 yards, did have the little costly pick, but he's very mobile, brought some juice and excitement, and you can tell they got behind him. And I know you were big on like a lot of the receivers who were dropping balls in the first half, like Arian Smith were catching the balls. So
Yeah.
get your thoughts on the game.
Yeah, I mean, on the defensive side, I mean, if you look, one of the biggest things that I noticed, there wasn't a lot of missed tackles that we had been having issues the last few weeks of just like missed tackles and things like that. And you saw guys were latching on and they were letting go. I think one of the big things too was showing that the pressure of getting 2 Ewers, he kind of doesn't really, he didn't know what to do at some point on certain throws that he was doing. Taking sacks and different. I forgot what they lined up to do, but he hiked it, and then we had 3 guys come around, and it was like deer in headlights. He didn't know where to go, and he just went down.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of shows that the thing with Texas, they're a good team, but it comes down to playing those tough teams, and
Sure.
we were the toughest team they played both times, and both times it was, we held them down. On the offensive side, though, I mean, tough loss with Beck. I mean, losing that, but the one thing I got to give got to give all the credit to Kirby is how he just coaches up those kids to where when something happens, they're ready to take the challenge. Like he challenged. I mean, that goes all the way. You look at the Georgia Tech game with all those overtimes. That second half, anybody watching that game that said in the second half, "Yep, we're going to come right back on them," and there wasn't many. I can guarantee you that because the way the game was, it was you were just like, "Man, this is just a tough one right now," and those boys fought through and just built that character, and I think it bled into that game. I mean, you look at that second half, and Gunner, one of the things I'll not forget, Gunner coming on the field and hearing the crowd through the TV just cheering, and you just saw it just fire them up. And, Arian Smith had a terrible first half, dropping some of those passes, but man, he stepped it up in the second half, man. Like, I mean, making catches, Lucky going up and how about that one touching that foot down inbounds to make that catch? I mean, it was just like the O line to everybody just took it up another notch. And I think, it sucks losing Beck, but I think what this game did was it built that confidence even more. And if anyone knows anything about, the way Georgia's been the last few years since Kirby's been there, you build that confidence up, and man, ain't nobody stopping us. We're running through a brick wall. So it's it was awesome to see.
It was a great win. Also, I think what another big one is because Georgia struggled the last couple of weeks was, man, Texas couldn't run the ball. I mean, 28 carries for 31 yards. Quinn Ewer, 6 carries, minus 27. That Wisner kid, they shut him down again. We gave up 358 passing. Also, Georgia struggled really bad in the first half, man. They got it going in the second half. ATN, I wouldn't say quietly, but had a good game. Glad to see him back. 16 carries, 94 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Nate Frazier had 6 for 47. Ended up with 141. So you could definitely tell got that going. And then just the defense, like Dalen Everett. I think we kind of forget how good he is. He's played quietly pretty good. He's probably one of the best corners this year.
I mean, he definitely, like, you don't hear about him in sports media about much of how good he is. Like, that's the crazy thing is he's that player that is so sneaky good that by the end of it you're like, oh damn, he had 2 interceptions. Man, that kid is a superstar, right? Like, so it's things like that Kirby does. The players that he's built up and recruited and the teams he just puts together. It's just like towards the end of the season, the way just everything meshes together. It's really great to watch.
Great win. Always good to get Texas again, and we can give them a little horns down. Also, I do like Matthew McConaughey, but all right, man, not today. And then another one is you're not going to come in the SEC yet and get the first year and win the SEC championship game. So that's a little bragging rights. Also, I will say in my opinion, one of the better officiated games. So we might have got away with some, but pretty good from our end because we've had a lot of issues in that building with penalties.
Yep.
So also helped.
Yeah, Sark was not very happy at the end of the first half. Did you see that interview?
I'm surprised you said that. Hey, are they going to call them from holding too? Like, man,
yeah,
I was a little salty. Jeez, man.
Yeah, he was so mad. I feel like that they were still bitter too because of you heard about all they were mad because Bebo couldn't be on the sidelines at Mercedes-Benz because they have those floor suites, so they can't have a big steer just sitting there like blocking the view of people. And their fans were a lot of them were so mad. But I don't know if you heard. I heard it was about 70-30 of Georgia fans to Texas fans in Atlanta.
So Texas didn't travel well?
No, I heard they did not travel well at all.
I heard it was hard. Even Kirby said he couldn't feel the juice until the third quarter. And I had a good friend, Griffin, who had lower level tickets. He couldn't give the tickets away on the Georgia side.
Really?
He a bunch of people and like even
right.
people in Atlanta. He was going to let them like, hey, you can have them for free. He couldn't give them away. I talked to him. He wasn't able to make it.
Yeah.
So, wow. So the way you're saying, do you think this will end up being an irrelevant game, and will they'll maybe potentially in the years to come cancel the SEC championship game?
The SEC, is always the conference championship is always going to be prestigious, but it's, as college football has evolved, it's kind of moved into like an NFL style playoff, right? So, and it kind of moves the conference championships to where they almost feel like when you win a division in the NFL, for instance, the Chiefs last night locked up their ninth straight Western division. I mean, that's great, but you move on, right? Like it's kind of like you're playing for the playoffs more than you are. I don't really care about the division's great and it gets us into the playoffs, but that's what the main goal is the playoff side. Because I mean, think about it. The biggest thing is what in your view, do you think the risk of these conference champ? Because look, in Georgia's instance, lost our starting quarterback, lost our starting punter. And Bell got hurt at one point in the game. He luckily came back, but he was hurt in the first half. So
KJ Bullsnuff went down for a little bit too.
Right. So it comes down to then it's you're at a disadvantage in a sense to say like a team like Ohio State or Tennessee that sat at home, but they're getting into the playoffs and they get that week off. They don't have to play that serious game to risk those injuries. I mean, it's the conference championship is huge, but I don't know. I don't know what comes about of it.
Yeah, and then speaking of that, so I know we get the bye and we get 23 days off, which is good, but also looking back on it, let's say chaos didn't happen that last week, we're probably potentially looking at we would be going on the road at Ohio State. So do you think this is a better situation?
Well, I mean, getting a buy and everything is always is always going to be nice. Being able to stay at a neutral site and not because I will say those home playoff games are they're definitely gonna be electric. I do feel though, still Tennessee's gonna get a little lucky because as one of the funniest things, I don't know if you heard on the selection show, but Herb Street had mentioned maybe it wasn't a good idea for Ohio State to get a home game because when they get their third and out, they're going to be booing the team and booing Ryan Day. So who they're playing, it's going to benefit. So it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, I think that's awesome doing the home playoff game. I can't imagine that the atmosphere definitely at those schools are going to be turned up. What I mean, what do you think of the getting the bye or having a home playoff game?
Yeah, originally, like a couple of weeks ago, I was like, man, I do not want to play on that game. I was telling my mom I didn't.
Right.
And then I was in Italy, and then I woke up the next day and I saw where Alabama got smoked. And then earlier, all that, I'm like, man, we're going to have to play SEC championship game because I just knew this team was beat up so bad. And then now we lost Carson Beck. But it might end up being the way we'll talk about it is it might be the Gunnar Stockton show looking forward. He might get hot, so there's that. But it's also now that Kirby won his third SEC championship game. There is that kind of padding the stats. Like I said, we might not win it all this year, but still a great season. So
speaking of Kirby winning that third one, after winning when he took the stage, what are your thoughts of what he said about Sankey?
I think it was, man. He took a jab at him, and Sankey had this. I thought it was great.
Ooh,
he cut a promo at wrestling. It's like a wrestling promo, man.
Well, you could tell they couldn't believe when he just said that. Like, and then when you watch the video, you see Greg kind of like finally turn away. He's just standing there like in shock that he just got called out. But I mean, what Kirby said, it wasn't wrong. I know that much.
I loved it. That was great. Kirby's man. Kirby cut some promos, man, when he's hot on the mic. These like post game and everything are good, man. He's good.
Well, I mean, he's on a roll. He called out ESPN after that first Texas game when everybody and their mother was picking against us.
Yeah.
And then
they didn't want to take pictures. They just wanted to eat. They just wanted to eat like Thanksgiving dinner. That was great.
Oh man, yeah. That was for me, one of the all-timer Kirby moments for me.
That was. He's great, man. He's got some good zingers. Georgia fans definitely needed this after another stressful overtime win. Great sponsor of the show. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. 0 carbs, 0 sugar. Personal favorite is the watermelon huckleberry. Great at the golf course, tailgate. Maybe it would even be great for Christmas present. But Doghouse 20 for 20% off. Again, that's Doghouse 20 for 20% off. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Also, check them out on Instagram as well. Great sponsor of the podcast this year. And then Derek, looking at it, what everybody was waiting for yesterday at 12 was the availing of the 12-team playoffs. And everybody was waiting on it. I thought they kind of pretty much got it right, at least for our end. But I want to get your thoughts on it and looking at the matchups going forward. Also, yeah. I did like it that they left Bama out, even though Bama fans are, y'all just didn't want to play us. But 3 losses, I'm glad they missed out. And I think that SMU coming back and almost beating Clemson at the end got them in. But anyway, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, no, backing the Bama comment, I 100% agree that they made the right decision leaving them off. I mean, have you ever seen a team like Bama lose to a mediocre, Oklahoma's name carries weight, but the team doesn't this year.
Right.
Lose the way they did 2 weeks before the end of the season. And it was almost there for a minute, like that loss didn't matter.
Right.
And it always had been, you want to lose early, right? You want to lose early because you can make up for it as the end of the season. And it was like there for a minute, it was like, whoa, hold on a second. They didn't just like lose by 3 points to Oklahoma. They got blown out the whole game.
Oh yeah.
And it was, it was like as if that didn't matter. So I'm glad they left them out. Also, Georgia had to deal with it last year, losing to Bama in the SEC championship. And then we got left out, and that, losing in your, nobody, in my opinion, you shouldn't be punished if you're in, especially if it's a close game in a conference championship. You shouldn't be punished if there's multiple teams that are sitting at home and they're not playing in theirs, right? SMU, that quarterback they got, that kid can run. I mean, he is good. So he's a playmaker. Now their defense, it was very spotty there against Clemson, but I think they got the majority of the seeding good. I mean, if you look at Georgia's side of the bracket, is a lot better than Oregon's. I know that much.
It is. Also, real quick, looking at these first round games, I just think it's interesting. How did TNT and Max get these games? I mean, what is this? The NCAA college basketball playoffs? You know how they have them on True TV, like TNT. Like, wow.
Pretty much. So when they expanded it to 12 teams, they expanded the coverage that they could have, because I don't think ESPN could something to do they couldn't cut, because with all the sports going on right now with college basketball and stuff like that, they needed another partner, and they added, of course, TNT wanted to hop on for the playoff, from what I heard.
Yeah, really, really interesting. So all those people that need to get some cable, YouTube TV out of the blue to watch those games, do it. You can't get it off the ESPN Plus app of Disney, at least for those games. On the first, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say, the main thing is with TNT, we need to be able to get the inside the NBA crew to call the pregame.
Charles Barkley and Shaq would be great.
Yes.
They're great.
That would be classic.
Yeah, Ernie Johnson is the Georgia homer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then, Derek, how about in this first round? What's maybe a game you're really interested in and maybe a potential upset in the first round, if you had to pick?
The Tennessee-Ohio State game, I think, is going to be a really fun one.
Mm-hmm.
That one I'm interested in. And I'm also – my upset pick is going to be Clemson over Texas.
Okay, I like it.
I think
Clemson, well, just because yours can't doesn't scare you running
Yep.
around. Any chance they
Yep.
go to Arch in desperation, switch it up?
I mean, I would have thought that he would have brought him in more in the SEC championship than he did. I was shocked because remember in Austin when we went to Austin, it was he kind of brought him in to kind of get that spark going with when Ewers wasn't playing great, and he didn't. I was just surprised. So it wouldn't surprise me because now you're kind of on that. You ain't got nothing to lose now. Once you're in, it's one and done. So it's throw everything in the kitchen sink to see and see if it works.
Yeah.
Well, what is the game that you're most excited about?
Ohio State, Tennessee, just because I think Ryan Day gets the boot, man. I've already
Yep.
texted.
Yep.
Like I have some friends. I ran into a guy at networking thing. He goes, "I'd rather beat Michigan than win a national title. That's how bad I want that." And he is 1-4 against them. It's time. He can run the table. Man, it's time. It's bad. So, that's what I'm interested in. And then also, I kind of like maybe SMU sneaking up on Penn State, just because I'm not sold on Penn State.
Hey, I like that pick. I like that. 100%. And the other thing is too, it's a noon game, so they're doing a whiteout. But I feel like really when those whiteouts are like the atmosphere is really electric, is those night game whiteouts.
I mean, it's a whiteout on TNT. This isn't Fox. Come on, or Mac. At 12 o'clock. Come on. I mean, come on. What are you going to get? 2.4 million views on that instead of whatever 15? I don't know.
What I want to know is who. Like, I understand you want to kind of have your main game when no one else is, but who in their bright mind thinks that noon games is what people really want? I mean, exactly. I'm sorry, but 2 top 5 teams should not be playing at noon. They should. You could do 3:30. I'd be down with 3:30, but 3:30 or 7:30 at night in prime time is when those games should be going on. Noon is it just don't feel right. It just don't feel right.
Especially for the tailgaters, man. It's just too early.
Right. Exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can pop a beer every now and then about 7 a.m. if I need to, but man, it's just not as good as, when you got multiple hours to kind of, get ready for the game.
I will say I am glad as a Georgia fan, I'm glad that it's going to be January 1st, so it gives you something to do. We can do New Year's, but man, 8:45, and I can see that thing almost kicking off at 9. It's going to be a long one.
Dude, it's gonna. I told my wife, I said I may need to put in PTO for that day, the next day, because that game ain't gonna be over till 1 o'clock. 100%.
At least a half day, maybe start at 12 or 1, but yeah,
right, exactly, exactly. Man.
And then the big question, Derrick, I know you're a fan of him. Wanted to ask you, can Gunnar Stockton lead Georgia to a national championship? What's your thoughts?
100% think so. I mean, one of the things like that dude owns, what is it, like 4 different Georgia State high school records that he broke. Most passing TDs, rushing yards, and I think passing yards. I think it is when I looked it up. And I mean, the one thing is that you can tell if someone is, a leader or people, respect them. When he came on the field and just how the team around him rallied around him and lifted up. I mean, from Trevor to the O-line to all the wide receivers. I mean, they were making catches they weren't making in the first half, and just, they were all there. And then, he takes that hit and then he just gets right back up, and he didn't drop the ball. I don't know how he didn't drop that ball. I really don't.
That's crazy.
And hearing, like, I've read some other stuff from like his high school coaches and just things like that. Like the kid is built for this. He's probably going to still have maybe some bad throws or whatnot, but I think give Kirby a good three, because he hasn't been practicing with the ones all season. He's had reps and things like that, but it's a different when you're able to go a few weeks in a row where you're just practicing with all the ones to where you can get those rhythms, and I do think it opens up a little bit to where he can take off and you can run more of those zone reads and things with him to where that can open up other things with the play action and running. And I definitely think it's gonna help the offense as well. There'll be a little bit of a learning curve, but I truly believe, especially with our defense. I mean, our defense is playing lights out. So, with our defense and sprinkling some big plays from either Trevor or Gunner, and I think we're going to be good.
Yeah, I do like it. You get 3 weeks for him, and Bobo
Yep,
recruited him, really likes the kid,
yep,
and he's been in the system, 3 years, so it's not like
yeah.
he's a true freshman. It's almost like he
Well,
has a whole spring to get ready, you know?
right. Right. Well, and one of the things that caught my attention too was they asked Kirby about, did he talk to Gunner at halftime, and he said nope. He said Bobo came up to him, they talked for a minute, and we knew what we needed to do, pretty much. Like, so that what that tells me is, Bobo, if Bobo's got that trust in him, that he's going to still be able to open that playbook with him, and it'll there's not and the other plus side, there's not a lot of tape on him. They got that second half in the SEC championship, but that's another advantage to where you could pick up a little bit on that, but there's not a full game tape on him, so you don't fully know what he can what he can do.
Yeah. And then I think everybody's going to rally behind him. I think everybody deep down is kind of excited for Gunnar Stockton, and he might be the
Yeah.
future. Might get a glimpse for the next year.
Yep.
And then also real quick, Derrick wanted to ask, what's your thoughts on Heisman Trophy? I believe it's coming up this weekend. So who you think's going to win that? And it's kind of been not not popular this year, but it's kind of been me. It's kind of been like, all right, it's not really too exciting
Yeah.
this
No.
year. I don't
No.
know,
You're right. It doesn't have that, like, you hear the media and oh man, who's gonna win? Like, I
yeah,
I kind of feel though it's like they awarded it to Trevor Hunter, or just to Travis Hunter,
for sure.
a few weeks ago, to where it's like, oh, oh, the Heisman's coming, we know who's winning, right? Like, um Travis Hunter's got, I mean, it's what do you think on the because the heat of the topic is his numbers are good and he plays both positions and he takes a lot of snaps, but snaps is not a stat, right? And when it comes to playing wide receiver and corner, so then it comes to, then a lot of people are like, well, the running back from Boise, he's just having a monster of a season, which he is, but on that side of things, you're in the Mountain West, right? Their hardest team they played was Oregon, which they only lost by 3. But what do you side with on that side of things?
I think he's a great athlete. I mean, him playing both ways, I don't think he's going to be able to do that in the NFL, but that's another discussion. But I don't know. I mean, looking at the Genty kid, I mean, 29 touchdowns,
I
almost
know,
2,500 yards. I don't care if you're doing that in flag football or
I
school.
know.
It's still impressive. But
Oh, I 100% agree. I mean,
also, I think it's good that it's always been called a quarterback award. So it's good that it's going to be
right? No,
another position.
that
So,
that's the good. But what if something sneaky happened and somehow Gabriel won it from Oregon?
yeah. He is the number one team, and he's having a good year. I mean, so,
Like, it's but I mean, it'll be, I am interested to see whoever Travis Hunter goes to, because he said he's going to do both positions in the NFL. I want to see how long he can make it in the NFL before it's like, nah, he ain't do you ain't playing to going to be able to make it a whole season doing both positions.
gotcha.
Maybe half the season, but staying healthy doing that that's a lot.
So if you had to pick, who's your Heisman Trophy pick? You had to pick.
I mean, I'm I would go the Boise running back just because
Yeah.
that the numbers he's putting up, like, I mean, what do he have against UNLV? It was like 200 and some yards.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're in a smaller conference, but when you're putting numbers like that up, it almost reminds me of back in the day. Remember back like Wisconsin, when they had
Like
the old
Ron Dane or
Ron
something.
Dane. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. They had the old AstroTurf, and you just see Ron Dane in the replays just running over folks
Yeah.
down the field. Like that's what it reminds me of. And I mean, Travis Hunter's made some crazy catches as a wide receiver as well this season.
Great
I mean,
athlete.
yeah, you can't go wrong with either. I mean, I they're definitely going with him, but it's I think it should be a lot closer than what probably the voting is going to show.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think the Ash just because of his stats, but I can see Travis
Right.
Hunter. Also, real quick with the Travis Hunter, what position you think he's going to play in the NFL if you had to pick, or where's he going to get drafted? Because he can't
Well,
play 100 plays, he won't last in the league, man. There's no way.
I know. Well, they're saying he's going. I think he's like a top 3 pick. So, but I want to see. He keeps saying he's going to play both positions. To me, I feel probably. I I don't know if he's quite big enough to be because he's like a smallish, skinny dude to where I don't know on the wide receiver side if he would be able to stay healthy more than if he was played corner more in the NFL. But I, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't want to say that he ain't going to be able to do it because I didn't think he was going to be able to play a full season in college playing both positions. So I mean, he's already proved me wrong. So.
Yeah, we'll see. I just think he needs for his longevity. He needs to pick DB
No,
or
absolutely.
yeah.
I did want to ask you, have you seen some of the media people have put together to where if with the college football playoff, college football do an NIT style bracket for the teams that don't get into the top 12. So you would be looking at right now, the top seeds would be Bama,
Alabama.
Miami, South Carolina, and Ole Miss would be the top seeds, and then um, they would have two teams would play each other, then play the top seed right there. And see the way they could do it, they could still do home playoff games, and then when they get to the later rounds of the NIT, then incorporate the smaller bowls like the Citrus Bowl and the Pop Tart Bowl. Bowls
Aren't the
where
Miami fans excited for that Iowa State Miami Pop Tarts Bowl? I know they're excited.
how about the Bama fans in what is it? I don't even know how to say that the
Yeah,
bowl they're in Tampa. The
RelaQuest,
Yeah,
RELIS Bowl against
Real Quest
Michigan, and I
against a
knew
7-5 Michigan team.
they stuck
Like
it to him, man.
so apparently the Citrus Bowl had the first pick of the SEC schools that did make it into the playoff, and they took South Carolina over Bama.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
it's I love it. And but
Jalen
that's what
Milroy, for all you Bama fans, Milroy, does he play in that game? Might be
I
one
don't
of the
think
backups.
so. I think a lot of I think I love the expanded playoffs, but I think it even makes these bowl games even less. Like
Yeah.
they were already, if you weren't in the top 4, you had the New Year's 6 day bowls, right? And it still had some importance. You could go to the Sugar Bowl or play in one of those big bowls. But now you can't even play in those, to where now I feel like it's going to be even more players wanting to opt out. What
Right.
what do you feel about if they were able to start implementing, since players are getting paid now, to where they wouldn't be able to opt out of games like that?
Yeah, I think if there was some incentive or part of the NIL deal, you have to play in the
Right.
bowl game no matter
Yeah.
what. I think
Yeah.
I like that. Like, all right, you got
Yeah.
to play though, even if it's a bowl game.
Yeah. I mean, if you're making over $1 million, playing on you shouldn't be able to just opt out of that game. You should have to finish out the season.
Yep.
So,
And
yeah.
one I'm looking at, just I know they're all over the place, but man, one game that's going to be really good. I'm gonna call it the Scrappy Bowl, Birmingham Bowl, Georgia Tech versus Vanderbilt. That's gonna be a good one, man.
Ooh, that is a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just,
What
just
did
looking.
what are some? I haven't even looked at like some of the smaller bowls. What are some of the other betterment? Who went to the Music City Bowl?
Let's see where that one is. Iowa versus Missouri. That's interesting.
Oh,
That's Music City Bowl. It's Trans Perfect Music City Bowl. Iowa versus Missouri.
mm.
Tony the Tiger Super Sun Bowl. Louisville. I always like the names. South Carolina's playing in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl against
Yeah,
Illinois.
yeah.
There's a
So
Snoop
that's
Dogg Bowl. Did you know? Oh yeah, Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. Miami of Ohio against Colorado State.
interesting.
In Tucson, Arizona.
Oh,
Oh, LSU's in the
that's
Texas Bowl against Baylor.
that one could
Oh,
be sneaky,
you
sneaky
know who
good.
really hates this too, and he's probably going to hate it? Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, Duke versus the Lane Train. He's loving that.
Oh, oh,
That's in Jacksonville, Everbank Stadium. Wow. So he's hey, go to Jacksonville, Lane Train. You know he hates that, man.
oh, yeah. No, 100%.
Duke
Who
Mayo Bowl is Minnesota versus Virginia Tech.
did you see there's some of the bowls because apparently the Pac-12 still had rights to some of the bowls. So
Yeah.
the Alamo Bowl, Colorado and BYU are playing each other. It's practically a conference game, but because of Colorado was in the Pac-12 last year, they have to play as the Pac-12 team in that bowl.
Wow.
So it's like weird. So it's like they put two conference teams against each other.
BYU's going against Colorado. That's interesting. Valero Alamo
Yeah.
Bowl.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
NC
That
State
one could
versus
be good.
East Carolina. It's interesting.
East Carolina was turned into being a sneaky little good team.
Fired their coach, and I guess they got better.
Yeah, he must. You don't see that much. Like, you fire the coach mid season, and then your team just wins out.
Yeah. First one, I think, is the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. It's going to be Memphis versus West Virginia. Wow, in Texas. That's on the 17th. That's coming up already.
Hey, they're gonna be some good good parlays and stuff. This is the one thing I love about when it says bowls, you just don't know what's going to happen. Who's in the classic old burnt Bahamas bowl? That one's always a good one that ends up coming down to being like crazy.
Bahamas.
I feel.
Let's see. Myrtle Beach Bowls, Coastal Carolina against UTSA.
Oh yeah.
The game above Sports Bowl, Pittsburgh versus Toledo. And these names are the 68 Ventures Bowl is Arkansas State versus Bowling Green. Direct TV Holiday Bowl. Direct TV's actually, I guess they still have business. Bahamas.
They still got their streaming, but they might not be doing the Bahama Bowl this year.
New Mexico Bowl.
Who's in the Las Vegas Bowl? I know they're doing that one again.
Didn't they have that Jimmy Kimmel Bowl? Oh, here it is. Bahama Bowl on Saturday, January 4th. Buffalo versus Liberty.
Oh, that's going to be a good one.
Interesting. Tony the Tiger Bowl. I think I said that one already. These are always fun. Anyway, we'll see. I'm glad Dogs are playing on January 1st. That's all I can say.
That's it.
All right, Derrick, I appreciate you coming on. How do we follow you on social media? We got you on the I know you post a lot of Kansas City Chiefs. He's a big one, and Georgia stuff on
Yeah. You can catch me at WestDE10 on Instagram. Just Derrick West on Facebook, and then Chiefs and Dogs on Twitter.
There it is. He's a big dog. Maybe Dogs can get a natty and the Chiefs can get another Super Bowl. Well, that'd be 4 for Mahomes, right?
Yeah, that would be 4 and the only 3-peat ever in the NFL.
That'd be awesome. They're
Yeah.
scrappy. They're scrappy this year. That's all I'll say. Good kind of defense.
The one thing I'll say is they've won 15 in a row. That's a one possession game. That's that's just crazy to think. Like any team, I don't care who you play for. That's just wild.
Exactly. Finding a way to win.
That's it. Name of the game.
That's it. Make sure to like, subscribe, share the podcast, Doghouse Podcast. We'll have some great content coming off. So Georgia's going to play on January 1st, getting some rest, and Gunnar Stockton's got to get ready.
That's it.
Appreciate you coming on again, and go Dogs.
Thanks for having me. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.